So welcome to the next episode of Next Creators. Today we have Alex Shkor from DEIP protocol. Nice to see you here.
Hi, Sasha. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really glad we have an opportunity to chat with you about this topic.
Cool. So maybe we can start by you sharing a little bit about what DEIP is.
Yeah, so DEIP or DIP or like DEIP, however you call it, is a protocol specifically designed for creator economy. We call it a digital governance for creators because basically it replicates some institutions from real economy on how to tokenize, on how to monetize creator economy assets, basically how to register IP assets in Web3 and how put it on NFT, how to attach legal value to these assets, how the whole chain will be governed, how the whole protocol will be governed, and to tell it like in very simple words, basically it's infrastructure where creators will be able to create um, portals and governance structures for their industry. And for example, one is for music, one is for movies, one is for source code development, and so on. So we aim to tokenize all this industry. We believe that all these industries are part of creator economy, the broader creator economy.
And what do you mean by portals? And maybe we can share some of this.
Yeah, this is a good question. So it's basically a little bit like internal term, but what we realized that in order to really make a shift of a creator economy to Web3, we need to be fully legally compliant with the current legal system, and current legal system needs to transfer the value of assets, like of music, for example, copyright, ownership of these assets to Web3 somehow. And the portal is basically is kind of double agent. It's literally a portal from real industry to Web3. And in real industry, in real world, it's legal entity. It's basically a legal entity which will be a custodian for IP rights. And in Web3, it's DAO with a security deposit, which basically guarantees that all these legal rights will be like reserved in this legal entity and that all the revenue profits will be redistributed, and all the protocol rules, for example, how to license assets in Web3 will have a legal effect in real industries, in real world.
Yeah, we'll go into how your protocol works a little bit later in maybe like 10, 15 minutes or so. But maybe first let's start also with your background. So where did you grow up for people who are listening?
Yeah, I did grow up in Minsk, Belarus. When I was a kid, I was always very interested in computers, programming. I started programming when I was 11, and when I was 16, I already sold my first software piece. And and when I became a student in university, I got really intrigued by distributed systems, and basically after 19 I was mostly designing architectures of distributed systems, and and this is how I came to blockchain space, initially because of my background in event sourcing. Like it was very similar to blockchain, and it's still very similar to into blockchain. And I just realized this is like will be a cool addition to also services we were providing in my previous company where I was CTO. So this is like short story of my background, and yeah, I'm still a kind of a geek and distributed systems architect, but also trying to run a company. So trying to combine these two things.
And why did you get interested in distributed systems in the first place? What was fascinating about it?
So I always was thinking, first of all, I always loved complex problems, and I still think that distributed systems is the most complex topic um, in computer science, because like of its nature. And also I always was interested in kind of democracy, in new democratic systems. and it also correlates between each other, because democratic systems is also basically distributed system, but where like um, not machines but people try to come up with a decision within a decentralized environment.
Mm-hmm. And when did you encounter the blockchain and Web3 for the first time?
Actually, first time I learned about blockchain, about Bitcoin, it was either late 2009 or beginning of 2010, something like that. I was a really avid user of Hubber. It's where also I did post some articles about security and sourcing, and I did read about Bitcoin, and I got so fascinated about this. I immediately told it to my mother, and she has PhD in economics, so she also like kind of realized the potential. We had like a little bit of a debate about it, but and then I tried to mine it a little bit, but unfortunately, because in Belarus at that time, literally it was impossible to withdraw this money, and I didn't have money to kind of maintain mining, even on my PC, like, or buy some additional equipment. So I just like gave up on this and came back to blockchain only in 2013, when we decided I wanna kind of start learning more deeper into it, like not just understanding high level concept, but really understanding how to build systems like this with these technologies. And then we started to introduce these technologies within our company. We opened R&D department, and we started to uh, develop some prototypes, and then got some customers. And for about 4 years we were doing like some software development in protocols, DEIPs, blockchain field for customers, mostly in the United States. And in 2017 we realized we have like enough expertise with my co-founders and like ideas to start our own company.
Mm-hmm. And what was the initial idea for your own company, and how did it evolve up until now?
Yeah, so this is like it's a very cool story, because we first started with idea. The initial idea was that we need to build a new reputation system to measure expertise, and to use this reputation to also assess assets in the world. And we realized it will be really cool to apply in education space and science. So these were like first use cases we were trying to tackle. And but we did select science, and we did have pretty good tractions there with this use case. But then we realized that the industry is still quite immature, and there is still a missing part. So infrastructure is kind of ready, but the main infrastructure is not ready. So we realized we need to build like this intermediate piece, like which will work not only for science but for all the industries. And that's how we also came up with this idea of tokenization of intangible assets, and basically creating a protocol for world creator economy space. And it also, what is very important, we also realize that we should not be the ones who define the rules for all the industries or even for science, because like we need to provide infrastructure, but in every industry, musicians should come up with their own rules for their like sub network of creator economy in Web3, and so on with all the other industries.
Mm-hmm. And what was the missing infrastructure that you kind of identified, the missing component that you decided to focus on?
Yeah, so the main missing infrastructure is basically protection and monetization of assets like within Web3. So in the real world, when you register IP rights, they're like uh, there's old system, but it works. It works like very badly, but it works. Like like, and you can enforce legal. Um, you can have like legal enforcement, for example, within this system. You can enforce royalties distribution if you are owner of IP asset. And in Web3, there's only thing you can rely on is a smart contract, and there's no like actual regulation of how these things happen, so that you can only rely on distribution of a curation fee, for example, and something like that. And we also realize that like with Web3, any NFT like can have either like zero value or like some like unlimited value if it's a scarcity item, like if it's like just like some rare thing. But we realize it should be a way to attach ownership and copyright of the asset to NFT, because like we want all industries like licensing of music migrate to Web3. And because there's like no protection, no like infrastructure for registration of assets, literally anyone can mint NFT without like any security guarantees, any security like I mean financial security guarantees. This doesn't like attract like regular creators like who wanna operate like just create music, who don't wanna know about technology, who just don't want to know like about like underlying infrastructures. They just want to receive more recognition and more rewards. And it also does not how to say, does not lead to this shift of how music is distributed, for example, because legal rights are still remain in real world, in real jurisdictions. So this is like what we identified needs to be somehow governed within Web3. So that's why we came up with ideas that there should be like really a governance which is similar to things happening in real world, like patent system, but it should be like uh, it should be built with already Web3 ideas in mind, that it should be open, decentralized, and global by default. So this is like actually like what we are building. We're building IP system with a regulation of this IP system, global by default, and on Web3 infrastructure.
Hmm. And why those things are important, like open, decentralized, global?
Global, first of all, because like current legal system is segregated, and it really hinders its potential, because like for example, you need to protect and enforce legal rights within all the jurisdictions, and most creators that don't have money to do this. And if system is global by default, like it's make things much easier. And luckily Web3 and blockchain global infrastructure also by default. Why it has to be open? It's because like it's much more scalable from um, much more scalable model when you don't hide an access of to the asset, so anyone can use it, and you just like then redistribute the profit, the revenue from which you made by using these like IP assets, like or music or movies, whatever. And um, and why it has to be decentralized is because like there should be a way to govern the system by creators themselves. It has to have some mechanism which will prevent it from being uh, usurpated or corrupted.
Hmm. That makes sense. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about where you are today with DEIP. So who are your initial customers? Like, are there particular verticals you're focusing on first?
Yeah, so this is very interesting thing, and because what we also realized, we need kind of champions in all the industries who are insiders and who will own these portals and who help bring new like customers and their audience uh, to the network. And we first started from patents, but then we realized there are so many other industries, and we currently don't have like specific focus. We just we even try to make it even more as diverse as possible. So we, for example, have already people who want to tokenize music, who want to tokenize 3D architecture for metaverses, who want to tokenize blog, social media, blog post as a content creator pieces, and what we need from these people is only one thing, is or two things. Like one thing is a passion, of course, about the industries they want to tokenize, and second thing is access to this industry, they ideally they should be like influencers within these industries. So we can know if we put some additional resources into them, they will bring people from their industry.
Mm-hmm. And maybe for the sake of example, for listeners, maybe we can talk through one industry, for example, like music. So how would this work? So you have this new influencers, and they are interested in doing this in a new way, right? But then this industry is mostly living this old way. So how does that kind of transition happen industry by industry on an example of music?
Yeah, so uh, this happens this way. So let's say we have a musician or like label or like some community of like indie musicians. They already have like community. They already have like some artists within this community. It's very important because it will make things easier for them. So what we provide for them, let's say it will be a very simple portal without like any DAO. It's like the simplest one. It's like NFT marketplace actually. It's a marketplace of music which works on top of Web3. And what we need from them is basically have a legal entity which will accumulate legal rights of using the music of their audience, and all the profits from this music, all the like licensing will be sold via our Web3 infrastructure. But they will be owners of the portal, and what we give them, we give this like kind of template, easy to use template of this NFT marketplace with all the technical functionality, technical infrastructure, and they just need to bring their community to tokenize this music. And in the beginning, most of transactions, licensing transactions still will happen in real world, because like not all the customers will directly go to Web3, not will be like buying licensing through this platform. But when this transaction occurs in real world, this portal will have obligations to redistribute this revenue via smart contract. So they don't know like even who owns this NFT right now, or maybe there will be multiple owners, but they will be redistributed profit through already Web3 infrastructure. And also they will be incentivized to convert also new customers to use Web3 infrastructure directly. So not buying license in a regular way, but buying license already through their own portal, because they will be earning fees on all the financial transactions happening through their portal.
Mm-hmm. And how would this work with like existing world in a sense, like maybe they already have contract with the label or somebody like this? Does it prevent them in any way to use this new system in your experience so far? Or they can just go and do this and
Yeah, so if they already have like contracts, if they still own their rights to their like IP assets, it doesn't prevent them from using it. Like it's just the main thing is to delegate ownership of IP assets to this portal, which will put this ownership on NFT, and then it flows in Web3 infrastructure. But there are still some transactions will be happening in real world. It just like we just need to respect current system. We cannot like make a flip immediately. We need to just gradually incentivize them to switch what infrastructure they use, because the new infrastructure will be just cheaper and will offer some advantages. For example, redistribution of curation fee, no matter how many items of like these IP assets were sold, like, and how many sales were performed after the first one.
mm-hmm. I see. And also, maybe you can describe some components of the infrastructure that you're building, the no-code platform and other components.
Yeah, so no code platform is one of the most important one, because we want to bring like creators who just don't know anything, not about even Web3, but not even about Web2, how it works. You know, like we just want to them be able to own a portal for the tokenization of music. So there will be like many platforms targeting their specific niche. And in order to achieve this, we need a no code platform And here we have our Casimir constructor. We call it also Web3, WordPress for Web3. And modules, they're pretty simple. Like, for example, there's like a regular NFT module. There's like NFT license module. So when you can license asset through NFT, which basically creates like a collection of NFTs which reference original asset, and with legal binding of agreement which regulates how this asset is licensed. Or for example, it can be embedded NFTs. Like, it's also like if you on your portal you realize, okay, we need to have something like embedded NFTs, for example, because if it's a song, it consists not only song, it consists also like music, lyrics, and all these things can be like separate NFTs combined within one NFT. And for them, we do not position this as like as a technology, like on a blockchain. We just say, okay, you just can put your asset in this marketplace, and you can combine it with other assets and sell it on this marketplace. Also within what is also important, we also provide them default um, presets of DAOs, because like sometimes they want to organize themselves into like into some structure, and they don't want to like have like these complex legal structures in real world which you need to maintain. You need accountant, you need all this stuff. But in Web3 you can have like a really simple one, but they don't want to build it. They want to have a ready one. So we just like have like couple of components. For example, like this is like this is a DAO for influencer, where you can like mobilize your community, have like different levels of community members, something like in Discord, but like for your audience, for your fans, and apply it. Where you can also, like for example, distribute some funding, where you can like have different models of how you invite new team members like to this DAO, because like it's not that trivial. You want to have like very different presets for different industries, and our main goal will be to build these modules, and modules which will be used by portal builders. So this is like our they our kind of main customer. So we just need to find like what is the most, how to say, um, uh, most valuable modules for them. So this is what we're testing right now, and we already see that licensing is the way of monetization of the assets in Web3. It still needs to be there. It's still licensing is a requirement by many industries. So because this is how they make money, they don't want to just do some, I don't know, NFT and sell it, and never get any like reward from licensing just because it's a rare thing. They want to like really make money on licensing their music. They want to make sure that it's how to say, it's been used, it has an impact in real world. It's not just like laying on a shelf within some collection.
And then for no code platform, will it be completely no code or will it be low code, or how do you differentiate between like those two?
Yeah, so right now we have our low code already released, and it's now mostly used internally and by portal builders who in our early accelerator program. And it's basically first stage of launching no code. And low code is more for developers, but like for developers who just don't want to write much code, who can like just write a script and launch also NFT marketplace from this. And the next stage, we will, with this low code platform, we will create many presets, basically templates, where you will be able to launch platform for music or for movies or whatever within one click, but it will have like a really standard functionality, and you will not be able to customize it much. Uh, and the next stage, when we release no code, you will have like high level of customization of these templates. You can like launch with a template, but then within a no code also without writing any like scripts, whatever, adjust parameters of modules, replace it within another one. But for example, replace a default DAO module with some third-party one, and so on. And this one, no-code platform, we expect to launch like about in about 6 months, and we believe this could be the biggest breakthrough for us.
Interesting. And when you think also about the infrastructure that you're building, how did you decide on using like kind of Appchain model versus, let's say, building on top of like some layer one directly?
Yeah, so there's like two things. One is technical, one is political. So we also realize that most of creators who don't know Web3 don't wanna actually dig deeper. They don't really, they don't really care what is what layer one is used. So, but what they care is that they kind of have a full control of this infrastructure, because they don't know and they don't know who to trust. So we just say, okay, guys, like you will have like the full control of the infrastructure. But we obviously believe that future is multi-chain and that our protocol will be operating on multiple chains simultaneously in the future. It's like and it's even from the very beginning we're utilizing some near components and we're utilizing like some our internal components. So it's like already at least two chains from the beginning. Um, and there's also a couple of technical things. For example, we give creators, community of creators, like within our network, a control of all the transaction fees, because they are people who need to decide on how much they want to give to the network, to the ecosystem fund, because it's basically a taxation system. And in future, there will be segregation to sub networks. And for example, musicians can decide they want to pay higher taxes because they see that redistribution of these taxes to early like creators to junior musicians works really well, and they're okay to raise taxes a little bit. And also there's like free transaction model. So we also realized we do really need these free transactions, because some operations in the chain, for example, inviting you into a DAO or leaving a comment, like not a comment, a review. It's like basically creation of another type of NFT which assess assets. uh, it's not supposed to be paid. People do not uh, they are not used to pay for these type of actions. So that's why we realized we need also free transaction model in our system.
That's actually like interesting question. Generally speaking, is how do you think that transition to, for now, not just creator economy, but generally to Web3 will go, in a sense that for a lot of things people today don't pay on the internet, right? A lot of actions or services are provided for free, and in Web3 a lot of it on end user to pay for, right? So how do you think the transition will happen in the first place?
So it's very good question. I think like in the beginning we really need to subsidize people transitioning to Web3, and it's not only to subsidize transaction fees, because like obviously uh, preventing people from joining Web3 in a way that they need to pay transaction fees is it's really high barrier. But and free transaction can work for these. But like I think in the beginning we can even subsidize royalties, because creators, we the whole industry will really benefit when a lot of creators will come to Web3, and when like this license transactions will happen, this revenue distribution will happen in Web3. So and Web3 have enough money to make this possible, to subsidize creators in the beginning. And interestingly, it really how new districts are built. Like some new districts, they usually occupied first by creators who like make these districts really popular. They make them like really hipster, really modern, and then the rest of population come, and then prices grow. And in the beginning, these artists who come to these new districts to make a graffiti there, I don't know, like make some like new cool restaurants and so on, they also sometimes subsidized for this, because these things are not that profitable in the beginning. Uh, So yeah, I think like this is something which can similarly happen in Web3.
Mm-hmm. And I think another question I had about DEIP. So what's your plans for this year, but also for like longer term? How do you think about like this year, but also like how do you even like plan? Like, do you have like long-term time horizon, couple years time horizon, this year time horizon?
Oh, this is like will be a long answer. So for this year, first of all, like we have our IDO right now. We need to finish this one, so we need to launch the currency, and then we our most important milestones actually are to launch a launching of new portals. So we want to launch at least 10 portals in the network in different industries, and for this we also need to get our constructor to the stage when it can be used by uh, independent users without our help. So this is like what we need to accomplish during this year. Next year, we aim to launch dynamic liquidity protocol, which we also call decentralized bank for creators, which is basically ability to use your music, your I don't know, like your writing, your pictures, your movies as a collateral to borrow stable coins from the protocol. Because we believe in future creators, they will just like we need to create economy which will help them just create. They don't need to worry about how to sell these things and how to monetize, how to find where it can be applicable, because this is not their job and they're not good in it at all. And uh, and with these decentralized bank for creators, we envision that when you have like a new asset created in music industry, for example, on any other asset class in the network, the protocol will know already the minimal average price of this asset and will be able to give you a loan in stable coins against of these assets. So you can just create, put it on in a decentralized bank, and it will give you some like cash flow immediately or almost immediately, because it still might need some time to evaluate the asset price. But what is cool about this, when you earn some revenues from this asset, like from licensing or whatever, you can buy back this asset from this bank, and it will belong to you. But if you not, bank can automatically uh, fractionalize this asset and start selling fractions of these assets on a public marketplace, basically through auctions and other mechanisms, and cover losses. And this is a mechanism we believe might lead also to revolution of how creators are funded, how they finance their work. And the next milestone will be at that point when we have enough data, we will launch collective intelligence protocol. And this is a protocol for, it's basically reputation based system, multi-dimensional reputation based system to assess assets even before there's any financial transactions. So to assess and evaluate the quality of the assets, so network can know what are like really top tier assets in the industry, and even before they really got any monetization transactions.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a yeah, pretty elaborate plan. So that brings me to the interesting question then. Let's talk about creator economy and what's the problem today with it. So what is wrong with the current system today? Because you're mentioning that we want creators to be able to just focus on creation, maybe do it full time. A lot of people don't do it full time; they cannot afford it. Don't focus on the distribution side of it, right? Just focus on creation. So, like, how does the system work today in a way that you think it just like doesn't make as much sense going forward?
Yeah, these things have been discussed massively already, but like the main uh, thesis is that uh, platforms dictate the rules. So platforms basically can set any royalty they want, and if they aggregated enough creators and users, they can enforce this vendor lock on all the creators. So creators like have literally almost no power. And this is like something with what can be changed with Web3, because once you own the assets, once you govern the network, creator economy protocol network, basically you tell the rules like of how much you wanna give to the platform, of how much you wanna give to the network, and then platforms decide whether they agree or not to list your assets on their marketplace, and whether they agree with your terms. And this is the biggest change which needs to happen. But besides that, there's like because of like the current market is really outdated and segregated. There's so many problems which are like local. Like for example, when you um, when you create a music, for example, and this music is played in some restaurant, that maybe you didn't know, but like in almost every country there's people who collect money for this, and they legally can do this. They legally can collect money for your music even if you didn't register any rights, because they are perceived as a main kind of IP assets collector, like royalties collector in the country. It's called something like national IP collector entity, and they keep this money and they say to people, okay, when you come and prove that you're owner of this asset, of this music, we will give you money back. But what's funny that because they have really little incentive to give you money back, and they have a lot of incentives to build a huge legal wall to prevent you from getting this money. So you will have to spend money on lawyers probably to to get this money, and most of creators will never do this. And these people just like making money or from other people assets, and yeah, and this is how it works now, and this is something like which really unfair and needs to be changed.
So it seems like that over time we have this now the system that like really focuses on like capturing this value of other people work and kind of there's somebody capturing majority of the value and a lot of times not people who like actual creators.
Yeah, that's right. So this is like what also we have in our like all the presentations and website, that we want to shift this economy from value capturing to value creation, because the previous economy was built and designed with idea of how to capture value. But we want to create economy which designed with idea how to create more value, how to incentivize people creation more value. And in this new economy, potentially creator will be in center of this economy, and all the other like models, all the other institutions will build with this idea of how we can help creators do more and worry less on capturing of the value, and it will be mostly automated for every industry.
So how would this shift happen in the world to this new economy? What are the kind of like immediate next steps there?
Yeah, so first of all, we need to launch the IP protocol. Yeah, probably it will get us a bit closer to this stage. But um, also, I think if we had like real multi-chain infrastructure, it will make things much easier. So we do need the proper multi-chain infrastructure, and then I'm sure there will be many more builders who will come to this space and who will not need to like dig deeper into this space even to understand like where to build. Basically, they will be building on Web3. So this is like what we need. We need people to come and build on Web3 without knowing like what is underlying technology. And also the most important thing is we need to somehow spread the word that it's even possible, because the mindset needs to be changed, because people just don't know that it's even possible, that there's such a technology and that it's already real and it can work for them for any of their industries, that it's not just like for NFT artists and not just for digital art, and for it can work for any industry. So I think this is the main things I would mention.
So from infrastructure side, you kind of need to have DEIP launched. You also need to have multi-chain overtime working, like interoperability working, and then you need to also like awareness.
Yeah, and we also have plans to contribute to multi-chain infrastructure. So this is like something we're already doing, and yeah, probably um, within the next 5 years, we will have multi-chain infrastructure, and it will be collective effort of all Web3 players, because I don't think that any one company, like one team, can build this like massive. It's really massive. If you can just think about it like that, we it will allow to transfer the whole value of all assets to internet, and basically the shift is so big that we need to involve not only actually developers but also people who understand different processes, like in the world, like policymakers. Ethics as well is important. We need to design new systems which will be better than current ones, but we need to use the previous experience as well. We just cannot say like destroy everything, it's just bullshit. No, these things work as well, and democratic processes works as well. We just need to make it better, need to make it like more transparent, and to just put it on an advanced infrastructure which can be transparent by default. That's it.
That's cool. And when you talk about multi-chain, and it will take like 5 years, what do you think is preventing the interoperability from like truly working today? Do you feel like the existing ecosystems kind of like incentivized to just grow their own before things are connected and work really well, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think it's curse of token, uh, because everybody want to promote their token, and I'm actually like the architecture what I have already in mind, and which we like with my co-founders uh, building for last year, like in a half, something like that. We realized that there is no need for a token, like central token, and it's very easy. How we design this decentralized system, you take anything within a system and you imagine that there should be two or n of these things, so there will be no single token for sure. Either it's like there will be no just one relay chain, there will be n relay chains, and so on, like, and this is with every component. So number one is curse of token. We need to really accept the idea that there will be no one token to win this all battles. I think like maybe just Bitcoin, because there will be a place for digital gold anyway in the system, just like for scarcity item. But there is just place for one scarcity item because it's unlimited, like in terms of like how much you can um, distribute ownership. Um, and yeah, and another thing is like really like that people building their own ecosystems and not really trying to connect with each other. And also one thing which we realized, like, I don't know, 3 years ago, and I think like everybody need to realize this, that sharding and interoperability is exactly the same problem and exactly the same solution, period. That's it. So once people realize it, they start to perceive this problem uh, differently. And yeah.
I also wonder what kinds of suggestions do you have for listeners who might still be skeptical of creator economy in Web3? What did you find as maybe working in terms of skeptics?
I tell me more about why they're skeptical. I don't know any. I don't know any skeptics.
There are quite a few skeptics. There are skeptics that are saying that, for example, like NFTs kind of destroy the environment. There is that argument is pretty loud in terms of like proof of work versus proof of stake and how like impact of environment of blockchains, for example. Then there are people who think that Web3 is just a bunch of scams, a bunch of like wash trading and kind of this like crazy headlines, like something got sold for a lot of money and that kind of stuff, gets negative, definitely connotation to the industry.
Yeah, but these are Web3 skeptics, right? Like these are people who are skeptical about Web3 in general.
Not so much creator skeptic.
Yeah. So yeah, those. these people are right. Actually, like, there's really a lot of scam in Web3. There's really a lot of environment like harm in from Web3, and because people who really want to build stuff like and really worry about this not coming into Web3, it's occupied by people who just making money, and and yeah, like we need to just build infrastructure. We just need to build tools. We just need to apply more human resources, more human capital to solve this problem. But there's really, I think, like most of, maybe not most, but like significant percentage of people in Web3 and like solutions in Web3 are not, how to say, are not moving the needle. And but there are other people who are building cool stuff, who are really building like cool, like cool technology at least, and but also cool solutions. And what I think we should do, because like I'm not like trying to I think just trying to convince them is not a good idea. Like it will not help much. We just need to help people to enter Web3 space.
And last question I have for today is where can our listeners find more information about DEIP online, be it Discord or your website or somewhere else?
Yeah, it's easy to find us. It's DEIP.world. Our website. There you can find all the necessary information, read our white paper, light paper. You can also follow us on Twitter. We post there all the announcements. And yeah, please welcome to our community. We're really happy to have your listeners on board, because like this is like the audience we are looking for.
All right, thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Sasha, for having me here. It was really a pleasure talking to you and discussing the future of creator economy and of the Web3.